Hello there.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Oh, great. Better that you're here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I miss you.
I miss you too. That's why I love when you come to the office.
I know this is how we see each other.
I know, right? We're like ships crossing in the night.
I know.
But we this is great. We're making it happen.
We are.
I'm still getting over this hoarse voice though.
I know. I'm sorry to keep making you talk because you've obviously been talking to patients all day. We've been shooting podcasts, but just last one.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm a talkative guy, so I don't mind talking.
I love it. I am dying to know what you think about this.
Okay.
So I've been, on Instagram, and I can't help but notice there's been some podcasts where people come on and they say, Botox is making me sick. I had aches and headaches and all of these things, and I did all of these tests, and then a doctor told me that it was Botox poisoning. And one woman was saying the internal bucket that kind of collects all of the toxins in our body was just overflowing, and it was because of Botox. So I'm just confused because, I have been doing this treatment for quite a while now, and a lot of our patients, and, and I think everyone I know that's over 25, part of the reason why I believe in things like Botox is because they've been around for so long.
That's right.
And they've been studied so extensively. That's right. So it's not like we're blindly trying something new. It's not new, and it's well established and researched, right? So I'm so confused, but I feel like it's a trend, and I've been seeing more and more of these types of posts. And one woman was like, well, they used it in war. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. So whatever Botox that they used in war is not the type that you go to Beverly Hills and get injected in your face. Like, what is this misinformation?
Right. U.S. military Botox.
Yeah, what is going on? So I just, for my own curiosity, and when people ask me, I want to be able to answer them intelligently. And if you're like me and you've been seeing these, and they're like teasers, so then you have to watch it. And I haven't watched the whole thing, but the whole thing is that it's making people sick. So. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen any of these people. And I think even our practice is like a good data point, right? And how many years have you been in practice?
Oh, just about 20.
And have you ever heard anybody complain about this?
Never.
Okay, so I want to hear your take. Why are people saying this?
All right. Wow. Can we do this 2 or 3 hours? Because this is how long it's going to take to cover.
Can you give it to for the layman's version?
Yeah. No, it's a great question, and I'm seeing more. By the way, it's interesting because I'm seeing more and more of these types of questions.
Okay.
Not only about Botox, but a lot of other things, other treatments. But I think we're seeing more and more of this because, well, a couple of things. It's multifactorial. One, it's clickbait, right? So social media nowadays, people. They want to get eyeballs on their accounts. They want to get eyeballs on their posts. So they know they want to do some kind of headline that's going to grab people's attention. Yeah. And it works.
Totally, it grabbed my attention.
It grabbed your attention. It would grab mine if I saw that.
I didn't tune in for the whole episode, but I mean, it caught my eye multiple times.
Right, you started listening to it, yeah. So that's one thing. So people are trying to find things that are going to trigger people to click on it. So that's one thing. Okay. The other thing is that we live in a time now where there's a lot of emphasis on things being clean and things being green. And, we've had Whole Food now for decades. That's emerged as this massive supermarket chain. Erewhon is more popular than ever. Yeah. And so these treatments can sometimes seem so contradictory to this trend of being clean and green and healthy, when really it's not a contradiction, but for some people it does feel like that. Right. So I think it's very interesting to people because there's this, people have this value system of I want to be clean and organic and stuff, but then I also want to get Botox. I kind of feel bad about that. So there's this turmoil, right? Yeah. So I think that's another reason why it's interesting. And then the last thing I'll say, I think just, there's something about the zeitgeist, what's going on in society. What are people interested in, or what are people thinking about? And I think more than ever, people are interested in beauty and looking great. And so these topics in general generate a lot of interest. So I think it's all of that coming together.
But I don't think all of that makes perfect sense. So thank you for breaking that down. But this whole idea of that it's making you sick,
right?
They've had physical symptoms. They spent so much time going to see various doctors. Right. Where do you think that comes from? Could there be truth to that? Is it?
Yeah. So from a medical perspective, it does not make scientific sense.
Okay.
And I can tell you why, but I also want to address the fact that why are people saying this?
Yeah.
I do believe that people are feeling symptoms. They're just not due to Botox.
Got it.
So part of this is that, we all have symptoms of things, right? So it's funny. My office, I had a patient not too long ago call my office, and they were saying that they wanted to come in for a consultation. And they said they've been calling different doctors' offices. And when they call certain offices, the offices are asking them, well, are you tired? And they're like, well, yeah. And they're like, do you have headaches? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, see, that's it's making you sick. You need to come in. You need like surgery right away. And she's like, well, wait a second. I'm a mom and I have kids. Like, I'm always tired. And
I was going to say, me too. Right. That's definitely me.
Right. So all of us have symptoms, right? We all have symptoms, but it's human nature to want to find a reason to make sense of what's chaotic. So it's human nature to say, well, I'm not feeling that well. I have aches. I have pain. What could it be? And there are some things that are great scapegoats. So for example, Botox is one of them because it's not necessary to get Botox.
Yeah.
So when people are thinking of what could be causing me problems, it's such an easy thing to blame. All right. Yeah. So why don't doctors think it's dangerous? Okay. Botox has been around for a long time. People don't understand the history. So Botox comes from a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. So so it comes from a bacteria. It was discovered in like the 1800s. That's when people realized, this thing can poison you. So it was discovered initially as a poison.
Okay.
As a toxin that can hurt you. But then later in the 1900s, as medicine advanced, and it's funny, we're talking about this because we just had an episode talking about ethnobotany and how scientists are looking at things that occur naturally in nature and how it can be harnessed, these ingredients. Okay. So doctors in the 1900s looked at botulinum and said, is there a way we can use this? So they started purifying it and then processing it and modifying it and seeing, was there any utility in this thing? And it turns out there is a ton of use that you can get out of Botox, medically speaking. So in the I want to say it was like the 1960s.
Yeah.
They started using medical grade Botox to treat spastic disorders. So there are people that suffer from different kinds of spasms of different muscle groups. And one of the ones is the eye. There's people, it's called blepharospasm. So there are people that, when you're talking to them, they're like, their eyes are twitching.
Yeah.
People are listening to this, but the ones that can see the video, they do this and it's involuntary. And it's
distracting. Nobody wants that.
It's terrible. They feel very self-conscious. It hurts their self-esteem.
Of course.
It's a pretty devastating thing to have.
Yeah.
So until the 1960s or so, there was nothing doctors can do about it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know who came up with the idea, but I think it was an ophthalmologist at the time.
Wasn't it a husband and wife ophthalmologist?
Later.
Ophthalmologist? Oh, later.
Later, okay. Yeah, exactly.
So they noticed the wrinkle changes. Okay, got it.
So doctors started injecting the muscles around the eye with Botox, with purified medical grade Botox, to treat this condition that was socially devastating, right?
Yes.
I mean, people who had this didn't want to be out socially. It's a devastating thing. So this went on for maybe, years and years and years, maybe even a decade. And then a husband and wife doctor team. Hey. I love husband and wife teams, right?
Me too.
They're awesome. So husband and wife team of doctors, they happen to be ophthalmologists, I believe. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So they were treating patients with blepharospasm, injecting the eye, and it's usually one side. So it was kind of the perfect experiment because in medicine or science, we love having a control. So the control is the set that you're not doing anything. And then this experimental set is a set where you're doing something. Yeah. So they had the perfect experiment because one side was being injected and the other one wasn't.
But how did no one else notice that? Because that's so obvious. And was this in older patients or anybody?
Blepharospasm is usually in adults. So it was at the very least adults, right? Okay. Yeah. So they started injecting the side that was spasming. And then they were astute enough to say, wait a second, over time, they saw that the side they were injecting had less wrinkles than the side they weren't injecting. So then they came up with this idea of using it for cosmetic purposes.
That's amazing.
So this has been around since 1980. Okay. But so cosmetic use of Botox, probably 1980s, but the medical use of Botox probably goes back to the 60s. Wow. So, we're now 2025. This is 60, almost 70-year history of using Botox for medical reasons safely. And there, like anything, there's risks, and there have been cases of people who have complications, but that's with any medicine you do. And usually it's because of improper administration, stuff like that. So Botox has an incredibly long history of safe use. So that's why we know this is not really a true phenomenon.
Okay. And then another thing that I wanted to point out was, I think like a lot of these people are saying that it's like an accumulation of this toxic bacteria in the system. But isn't Botox, once it's injected into the muscle and the body metabolizes it?
Correct.
Hence why you have to invest again a few months later.
Right.
So it can't build up in your system, and it's not like being secreted out or something, and it's building up and making you sick. So that doesn't really make sense.
See, that's why I say you're like an honorary doctor, because you have absorbed a lot of medical knowledge. You're 100% right. When Botox is injected, it's binding to a specific receptor in a muscle, and then it's metabolized and it's broken apart. So the intact molecule is no longer intact. It's broken apart. So there's pieces of the Botox after it's worked, but it's not Botox. So you're right. It's not accumulating because it's not even Botox anymore. It becomes it's broken down, just like anything we eat is broken down.
So it's not a toxin that stays in the body?
Not at all.
It's metabolized. Okay.
It's metabolized.
So the other thing I think is really interesting is like the 3 podcasts that caught my eye, the women that were speaking, they were probably in their 40s, late 30s maybe, but I would say 40s.
Yeah.
And one of them was like, it's been 2 years or 3 years since I've used Botox. Yet she had no wrinkles,
right,
and not a lot of movement from what I can see. And I understand people are still kind of embarrassed to talk about Botox, and, do whatever makes you happy. I think now people are very open about it, or more open than they used to be.
Right.
And I know for me, like getting a treatment 3 times a year, so like every 4 months, makes a huge difference to me in my self-esteem. I feel like it makes me look refreshed, but that doesn't replace good skincare. Right. I mean, I see plenty of people with terrible skin and they have a lot of Botox, and that doesn't make them look good. Right. So to me personally, I think it's synergistic with lifestyle, with skincare, with all those things. Yeah. And I don't feel bad. I don't think other people should feel bad about it. And then I think Cindy Crawford recently posted something, and she was saying creams and topical things, of course they help. They're so important. But after a certain age, I mean, we're talking about like wrinkles, like folding of tissue. Yeah. So nothing's going to help that. That's besides, kind of stopping the movement altogether. Right.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. You have to understand the anatomy, right? So skincare products, no matter how great they are, even as great as ours are,
which helped a lot. And it really gave me confidence during my pregnancy. I think a lot of women now, or at least in LA, are having children older, and maybe you've had Botox for a while, and then you can't have it because you're pregnant, and you can't use Retin-A, which also helps with lines, and that's why I love our skincare, specifically Genetically Blessed, because it really helped me with confidence. Because I'm not gonna lie, after 2 years, right? So after being pregnant and then breastfeeding for a year, I felt like Mother Gothel. I felt so ugly, and any little thing.
Are you guys? Do you see my wife here? If you don't, you should check her out. You're a part of this.
That is how I felt. But like any woman, I think
I'm closer to Mother Gothel.
Stop it. Says the guy who's never even had Botox. You're super annoying. But and everyone's skin integrity is different. But that. Going that long without it, I saw a difference in my own skin, being late 30s, early 40s. And so having an alternative is great, but it's not the same.
Right. Yeah. So skincare products and anything topical is going to work at the surface.
Yeah.
So surface issues will be treated with topical stuff. So blemishes, pores, texture, discoloration, absolutely all of that will help. But that's not what causes wrinkles. Wrinkles are a deeper issue. That's the muscle and the folding of the skin by muscular action. I mean, the analogy I often give people is like a suit, right? Yeah. Or fabric. So, here's my fabric of the suit, and the muscle is literally bending it and wrinkling it. And over time, if I don't iron that out, it's going to form a permanent line in the fabric. So the skin is the same way. So, if someone is in their 40s and they don't have lines on their face,
they're either Dominican and their name is John Diaz.
Right. I was going to say they're not, they're definitely doing something, and it's not topical products.
So whatever. So bottom line, Botox is safe.
Yes.
It's not like a forever chemical that accumulates in your body that is going to make you sick if you don't stop getting your treatments.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. We're myth busting.
Yeah, we are. Well, there's so many myths.
We should do Mythbusters Aesthetic Edition.
Oh.
Did you ever see that show Mythbusters?
Yeah,
it was like science.
Of course.
I love that show.
Yeah. No, and I'm happy you brought this up today. So, when you suggested this topic, I thought it was great because there's so many things out there that misinformation, right? And this is people talking more about this, but it's also makes people feel bad. Like, there's no reason to feel bad about caring about the way you look and wanting to treat these things that, do age us and do make us look older. And then, it's terrible because then people feel guilty about it, and they shouldn't.
Oh yeah, don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
Let this be a gentle reminder to do whatever the hell you want and to do what makes you feel good. I mean, within reason.
Right.
But, don't feel guilty about Botox.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the other crazy shit that's happening in the world.
Yes.
Feel guilty about that.
Right. Well, I hope we sufficiently busted this myth.
Me too. Well, thank you for breaking that down because I think you do a great job of making things, medical complex things, simple and easy for anybody to understand. So thank you for breaking that down. I feel better about it. I was not going to stop getting Botox between me and you.
Were you kind of like, whatever he says, I'm still going to use Botox?
No, I mean, I was really curious to hear what your thoughts were and like what your medical perspective is. Because it's great that we have social media and the internet and you can say whatever you want, but it's misleading and it can be dangerous and it's misinformation. And Botox, not getting Botox, I mean, that's really not dangerous, right? But there are other things that are dangerous. So just as much as, and this is why I wanted to do this. And I think why we wanted to have a podcast like this, because we get these questions all the time. And so, that's great that our network, our patients, they're getting real answers. They're getting great information, but everybody should get great information. And then that's up to you too, like being a good fact checker. And yes, things seem compelling on Instagram, but who is that woman? Is she a random? Is she a medical doctor? Is she a journalist? Like, who is that person?
That's right.
So figuring out what, who they are and what their motivation could be for saying that. And then getting the facts from somebody that you trust, who's trained and who knows what these things truly mean. Yeah,
this actually touches on a very important, bigger topic, which is I'm seeing a very disturbing trend in the field of plastic surgery and medicine in general, where some people are making careers out of fear mongering.
I know.
Because,
it's unfortunate.
It's kind of like, the lowest hanging fruit. Mm-hmm. So in the field of plastic surgery, there are doctors who are preying on the vulnerabilities of patients who are afraid of, let's say, things like implants or Botox. And if you do that, you can very quickly make a name for yourself, and you can quickly establish a clientele from that. Mm-hmm. Because that's as we were saying, it's something that is a clickbait. It's going to be easy to draw someone's attention. Yeah. It's not so fun and exciting if you're like, no, it's safe, it's good. That doesn't draw as much attention. So we're finding that there are a lot of doctors who are jumping on these kinds of things and building careers or building social media followings around these fears because it's a quicker way to get followers. Just like, we've seen with, all of social media where if there's conflict and if you're reading, something that has an opposite opinion, it makes you more likely to engage and to react and to comment. Well, it's the same thing with medicine.
Yeah. Well, that's really unfortunate. So let's hope that people don't fall prey to that.
Yes.
Do your research. It's great to get multiple opinions. If you have various pains, maybe go see your internal medicine doctor. Do not consult to your favorite, to Instagram.
Yeah. Or come to me and I can reassure you about the Botox.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. And then let us know if there's other myths that you would like us to bust. I mean,
what should we look into next?
Yeah. Yeah. Or send us comments. We'd love to hear it.
Okay, awesome.
All right.